Breaking news in France. A truck has plowed into a crowd celebrating Bastille Day. Also tonight, ending the surprise, Donald Trump chooses Mike Pence as his running mate as our new poll finds the presidential race in a dead heat. Who's voting for Trump?
You were a lifelong Democrat.
Yes.
And you're wearing a Trump shirt.
DWA, driving while angry. In a new study, 8 out of 10 drivers admit doing it.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
This is our Western edition, and we begin with breaking news: an attack tonight in southern France. Police say many dozens were killed when a truck rammed into a crowd in the city of Nice. The victims were celebrating Bastille Day, commemorating the start of the French Revolution, much like our 4th of July. Elaine Cobb is in Paris and joins us on the phone with the very latest. Elaine?
Local media are quoting police as saying at least 76 people are dead after the large transport truck plowed into the crowd gathering to watch the Bastille Day fireworks. Dozens more were injured. 16 of them are in the hospital in critical condition. Ambulance services and firefighters are on scene to help the wounded. A crisis center has been set up at a local hospital, as well as a psychological crisis center for anyone who wants help. Local police say an emergency operation is still underway, and they've asked people to stay away from downtown Nice. They're advising people to stay home and lock their doors. The Paris Counter-Terrorism Police Unit has been put in charge of the investigation. Local officials at this stage say they have no information of who the truck driver was or what his motives may have been. Local media report that people heard shots fired, and they published a photo online of the truck apparently riddled by bullet holes. President Francois Hollande cut short a private visit to return to Paris for a crisis cabinet meeting underway right now. The Interior Minister is on his way to Nice, where he'll meet with local officials and police to be updated on the situation.
And we'll have extensive coverage from Nice on CBS this morning. Elaine Cobb, thanks. Because of the attack in France, Donald Trump says he is putting off the introduction tomorrow of his running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence. His selection comes as our CBS News poll shows the race tightening to a 40-40 Trump-Clinton tie. Trump has taken a 12-point lead among independents, but most voters find both candidates untrustworthy. Clinton has a 5-point lead in that category. Few voters know anything about Mike Pence, so here's our Major Garrett to change that.
Governor Pence landed at a private airport in New Jersey this afternoon and headed, we are told by two sources familiar with the matter, to a dinner meeting with Donald Trump to discuss strategy and staffing for the upcoming campaign, thus continuing conversations that rounded out the Republican ticket.
I support Donald Trump. I think he's got the right vision for this country.
Donald Trump spoke with Mike Pence last night and again today as he settled on the Indiana governor to bring staunch conservatism and a low-key personality to the ticket. The 57-year-old Pence was born in Columbus, Indiana, and has a law degree from Indiana University. He served 6 terms in Congress and carved out a record of social and economic conservatism that Tea Party Republicans fancied long before they became a force within the GOP. Pence initially endorsed Texas Senator Ted Cruz in the Indiana primary that clinched Trump's status as the presumptive nominee.
I see Ted Cruz as a principled conservative who's dedicated his career to advocating the Reagan agenda.
And earlier in the campaign, Pence publicly opposed Trump on 2 big issues: temporarily banning Muslim immigration and a new trade deal in Asia called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. But Pence came around to Team Trump and has been singing his praises since he laid claim to the nomination.
He's a builder, he's a fighter, and he's a patriot.
A new CBS News poll shows 86% of voters are undecided or do not know enough about Pence to form an opinion. Pence has not been touched by scandal as a member of Congress or as governor, but he did come under fire for a bill that allowed businesses to deny services based on their religious beliefs. After swift opposition around the country, Pence had the law redrafted.
It's been a tough week here in the Hoosier State.
Reacting to what he called a horrible attack in southern France, Trump announced on Twitter he was postponing tomorrow's 11 a.m. scheduled unveiling of his running mate. Trump also said on Twitter, "When will we learn?" Scott, he also said, "It is only getting worse."
Major Garrett, thanks. John Dickerson, our CBS News political director and the anchor of Face the Nation, is in our Cleveland Convention newsroom this evening. John, what does Mike Pence bring to the ticket?
Well, he is not of Washington, but he has some Washington experience. And Donald Trump said he wanted to pick somebody who could help him actually get something done in Washington. He has strong ties to the social conservative part of the Republican Party, so he helps Trump cinch up that unity, which is a part of what he's trying to do here at the convention. And also, unlike somebody like Newt Gingrich, who's a bit of a rambunctious politician, Mike Pence is not somebody who's going to cause issues, or probably not somebody who's going to cause issues for the person at the top of the ticket in terms of behavior and staying on message.
In our poll today, the vast majority of Republicans said they believe their party is divided. How does Pence help heal the breach?
So in the delegates I've talked to here in Cleveland about the possibility of his pick and the naming of him, what they like about Pence is that they're worried that Donald Trump is going to be unpredictable, that he won't participate in the kind of compulsory exercises of campaigning that show that you're presidential. And what they see in the Pence pick is a kind of seriousness about governing. As one put it, he is a stabilizing pick, which means that Donald Trump has been kind of an attack dog as a candidate, so he doesn't need an attack dog and a vice president. What the delegates here are saying is they like the fact that Pence is a little bit more even-keeled, and that might add balance to the ticket so that they can compete in the fall.
Sort of a role reversal from usual politics. John Dickerson in Cleveland for us. Thank you very much. Some of the most important business of the Republican convention is unfolding right now. The people who make the rules are hearing from dissidents who want to derail Trump's expected first ballot nomination. Juliana Goldman is in Cleveland.
Obviously, we did not stand adjourned for 3 hours because of a jammed cop here.
In Cleveland today, a printer problem became code for a last-minute effort to prevent a messy nomination fight on the convention floor next week. While delegates met in one room, RNC officials and Donald Trump's aides huddled behind closed doors with conservative activists and leaders of the Stop Trump movement. Sean Spicer is with the RNC.
I think what we want to do is make sure that we've got the greatest amount of unity coming out of this convention.
Anti-Trump forces have been waiting for the Rules Committee meeting to try to unbind delegates from having to vote for Trump on the first ballot. But today, RNC and Trump officials told CBS News they're confident they don't have the votes to prevail. One question mark, whether the Stop Trump movement will still get the 28 votes needed to force a minority report, which could create a stir on the convention floor, airing GOP infighting for all the cameras to see. The convention's long-awaited list of speakers did highlight the GOP divide. Glaringly absent are many of the party's leaders, like 2008 nominee Senator John McCain, who said he prefers the Grand Canyon to Cleveland.
Why are you skipping the Republican convention?
Because I'm campaigning for re-election.
2012 nominee Mitt Romney won't be here, nor will either of the former Presidents Bush.
I haven't begun to start working on my speech yet.
Those that will be speaking include House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, both of whom have on occasion criticized Trump. The Stop Trump movement likely faces its biggest test tomorrow when the Rules Committee meets for a second day. But, Scott, we've spoken with many of the delegates here, and even those who are bound to other candidates say the cake is baked and it's time to rally around Trump.
Juliana Goldman in Cleveland for us. Juliana, thank you. Well, when our poll asked voters who would do a better job on the economy, Trump beat Clinton by 11 points. Last month, they were dead even. Tough times are drawing voters to Trump, as Don Daler found out in Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
There was a time when Johnstown, Pennsylvania led the nation in steel production. That industry and its thousands of good-paying jobs have long since left.
This is a small town. It used to be kind of like a small Pittsburgh, and it's a hard-hit area.
Welder John Silk works at one of the last remaining factories. His faith in the future has been shaken. You were a lifelong Democrat.
Yes.
And you're wearing a Trump shirt. How'd that happen?
If he does half of what he says he's going to do, it's a boost in the right direction. You can only go forward with him. You can't go. I don't think you can go backwards. And the short set can't stay the same.
You've lost faith with the Democratic Party?
Yes, absolutely.
Another resident, Peter Ankney, registered Republican for the first time in his life and also plans to vote Trump.
We have way too many government regulations. Donald Trump talked about undoing them, getting them out of the way, and letting our local industries do what they do best and just create jobs.
But restoring Johnstown's former glory is a tough order. The average income here is less than half the national average, and 34% now live in poverty.
Our economy's obviously not recovered from the crisis in 2008, so we got to start worrying about home. I'm going to take care of this place first.
Pennsylvania has favored Democrats in every presidential election since 1992. But this year, the ghosts of long-dead industries could have their final revenge. Don Dahler, CBS News, Johnstown, Pennsylvania.
Well, Hillary Clinton will accept the Democratic nomination 2 weeks from tonight. What will her ticket look like? Here's Nancy Cordes.
Are we ready for Hillary?
Clinton held her own VP tryout today for Virginia Senator Tim Kaine in his home state.
Do you want a "you're fired" president or a "you're hired" president?
Kaine's resume has propelled him onto Clinton's shortlist. He's the former governor of a battleground state, a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and he speaks fluent Spanish.
Estamos listos para Hillary.
Still, he faces stiff competition from some of his Senate colleagues, all of whom met with Clinton at the Capitol today. The tight-lipped bunch included Ohio's Sherrod Brown.
Good meeting, good meeting.
Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, New Jersey's Cory Booker, and Vermont's Bernie Sanders, who got a standing ovation in the closed-door meeting after endorsing Clinton earlier this week.
She will be the next president of the United States.
Clinton has campaigned with the others too, but the timing of today's event is intriguing. It's her last big public appearance before she gets overshadowed by Trump's VP announcement tomorrow and the Republican convention next week.
Now, next week in Cleveland, they will nominate someone who thinks Latino outreach is tweeting a picture of a taco bowl.
Senator Kaine has described himself as boring, but that could be a plus in the eyes of the Clinton campaign, which won't have to worry as much if he's the VP that he will upstage the person at the top of the ticket, Scott.
Nancy Cordes for us. Nancy, thank you. Well, she didn't apologize or take her words back, but today Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg said she regrets making critical remarks about Donald Trump. In a statement, she said her remarks were ill-advised and judges should avoid commenting on a candidate for public office. Today, mourners packed one of Minnesota's largest churches for the funeral of Philando Castile. A police officer shot and killed Castile last week after stopping him for a broken taillight. His death was one of the motivations for the Dallas police murders last week. Anna Werner is in St. Paul.
A white horse-drawn carriage led the procession carrying Philando Castile's casket. Mourners packed shoulder to shoulder into the 3,000-seat cathedral. But church officials said they wanted to support a hurting community and the request of Castile's mother, Valerie.
He is a king, and I thought that would be the only thing suitable for him was royalty. That's why I chose that place.
Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him.
The video of Castile's shooting by an officer of the St. Anthony Police Department, streamed live by his fiancée on Facebook, caused national outrage. Castile had a gun in the car and a permit to carry. The family says Castile was a victim of racial profiling. The family's pastor, Reverend Steve Daniels Jr., agreed, but asked mourners to come together.
You know, we're not each other's enemies, so I hope that this child's death will be that seed that will produce us coming together.
Reverend Daniels reminded those gathered here that blacks and whites donate blood to each other. He asked Scott, if we can exchange blood, why can't we exchange love?
Anna Werner, thanks. We'll have an update on the attack in France coming up later in the broadcast, but next on the Western edition of the CBS Evening News, danger on the highways, angry drivers, and later, one woman's stand against violence. Road rage has become such a problem that Connecticut put this advice in its driver's manual. If you want to wave to another driver, please use all your fingers. Well, we were thumbing through a surprising new study today, and here's Chris Van Cleve.
Sir, calm down.
Road rage caught on a cell phone camera in Ramona, California, just outside of San Diego over the weekend.
If I wouldn't have jumped out of the way, he definitely would have hit me.
Photographer Alex Stone was taking pictures of a car when the driver of this giant SUV lost it.
I thought he was going to hit my equipment, and I was scared for myself as well.
A new AAA Foundation study finds nearly 80% of drivers express significant anger, aggression, or road rage behind the wheel at least once in the last year. An estimated 51% of drivers, that's 104 million people, purposely tailgated, and 47% of drivers yelled at another driver. AAA's Tamara Johnson.
I think some of the most disturbing numbers are the 8 million drivers that are admitting to actually getting out of their vehicle and approaching another driver, or purposely ramming or bumping another car with their vehicle.
Road rage videos of drivers fighting with bats, pulling guns, or breaking windows have all gone viral. In May, an argument between drivers turned into a fight in the streets of Houston. Then one driver rammed the other's car and took off.
The car kind of affords us a certain level of safety and anonymity.
Mike McCluskey is an expert on aggression and a professor of psychology at Temple University in Philadelphia. He spoke to me for CBS Sunday Morning.
What is it about driving that makes some people just so angry?
You're really trying to get from A to B, and you usually haven't given yourself enough time to do that. So just the trip itself is very, very stressful.
Fatal road rage incidents are on the rise. Scott, between 2010 and 2014, road rage has been blamed for more than 1,700 deaths.
Chris Van Cleve. Chris, thanks very much. When we come back, we'll meet a woman who stopped riot police in their tracks. During the protests after a police shooting in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Aisha Evans stood her ground. She told Gayle King of CBS This Morning that she stepped up after seeing an officer adjust his weapon.
So how does it go from that to you are now nose to nose with police officers?
I'll be honest, I just felt the urge to just walk into the street. And I needed to see them. I needed to see the officers. I needed to see their faces.
So Aisha, you just walk in the street, even though you're told not to walk in the street, and you stand nose to nose and you don't say anything?
Nothing.
And what are they saying to you?
Nothing. It was silence. It was a lot of nonverbal communication.
What did you want your silence to say?
I'm human. I'm a woman. I'm a mom. I'm a nurse. I could be your nurse. I could be taking care of you. You know, our children could be friends. We all matter. We don't have to beg to matter. We do matter.
You can see Gayle's interview tomorrow on CBS This Morning, and we'll be right back with an update on the Nice, France attack. Back to our top story now. Many dozens have been killed tonight in Nice, France, after a truck drove into a crowd watching Bastille Day fireworks. Elaine Cobb is in Paris with the latest.
Local media are quoting police as saying at least 76 people are dead after the large transport truck plowed into the crowd gathering to watch the Bastille Day fireworks. Dozens more were injured. 16 of them are in the hospital in critical condition. Ambulance services and firefighters are still on the scene to help the wounded. A reporter on the scene said the truck seemed to deliberately drive onto the Promenade des Anglais, where people were gathering for a vantage point to watch the fireworks. Local police say an emergency operation is still underway. They've asked people to stay away from downtown Nice, and they're advising people to stay home and lock their doors. The Interior Minister will meet with local officials and police to be updated on the situation.
Elaine Cobb in Paris, thanks. And that's the CBS Evening News for tonight. For all of us at CBS News all around the world, good night.